Forgot the
Hey,
latest
Walden
whip
Pond
on
guy's here.
there.
Hey, Rick. Walden Pond brother. Just met this guy
As
sitting
if
up
it's
in the
good for
woods
your
writing
head,
a
it would
book
not
in
be good for
Walden
your
Pond. All right, here's just one more thing from this book. This is the end of the hitchhiking trip, that same trip. Same ride.
Is that okay?
Yeah, good.
And then suddenly, boom, the Sierra Nevadas were staring us down from all sides. And what pretty eyes they have. Faces of sculpted natural beauty surround us like fashion show runway models. With every minute or two, a completely new and different beauty appeared before us, pirouetting for a good view and then disappearing again, all day long until you become numb to it. And in a before you know it moment, we're in the capital of cool, Sacramento, California, where the laws of this beautiful land of the free are set. And I feel like firing up a doobie as soon as Minnesota Mike drops me off. But before I can soak up even a ray of California sunshine, some state trooper pulls up and tells me to get the hell off the freeway. Welcome to Happyville. Think I'll go back to Salt Lake City. I do believe I've had enough. And oh yeah, right. This is the same town Dean got hit on their famous trip, and things got weird. Maybe this joint wasn't the cosmic bop groove after all. But before I could even walk to the bottom of the ramp, some guy in a four-wheel Jeep makes a sharp pull into the shoulder, and we're off. It's about 2 in the afternoon, well more than 24 hours since Cliffy dropped me off in Denver. And this guy's heading nearly to San Francisco, to Vallejo to be exact, which sounded like Valhalla to me. And on top of that, he figures it's a good idea if we stop and get some beers for the road. Boom! California, just like I pictured. Beer for sale at every lemonade stand, fruit at every gas station, dreams on every corner. And my head was bouncing in circles, taking it all in, while Eddie at the wheel was calm as a cactus, with roots as wide. He grew up here and had seen it all. The Dead at the Fillmore, Janice at the Carousel, the airplane at the Matrix. He's making me just about sick. I start cursing growing up in Winterpeg, a million miles from anything cool. And he says, yeah, but you are who you are. And what are you going to say to that? And you're here now. The student was ready and the teachers were appearing. And somehow we got to talking about our parents, and I explained how I got along with my mom but not my dad. And she was an artist, and he was a conservative farmer come banker, and we'd never seen eye to eye. And Eddie says, talk to your dad. You have more in common with him than you think. You seem like a level-headed kid. He's probably more scared to talk to you than you are to him. Did he go to college? He asked, seeming to already know the answer was no. He won't admit it, but you probably intimidate him. Talk to him. It's going to be up to you. Between Kesey's benediction and Eddie's admonition, and thinking of how both old Neil and Jack lost their fathers in different ways and spent the rest of their lives trying to resolve it, I pledged then, and put into practice ever after, a dialogue with my distant dad. Even though we only got partway there, I spent the rest of his years giving him all the time and attention I could. And even if he couldn't articulate much, his tears each time I left told me the effort was worth it. Eddie may have driven me to Vallejo, but he'd also taken me a whole lot further. And as this California prophet dropped me off on the burning shore of that bay by San Francisco, I knew I was knocking on the heavenly door of Marin. Not a minute after saying goodbye and stepping onto the roadside in this holy land of hip, some young short-haired guy in a fancy red sports car going about 1,000,000 miles an hour pulls over to a silent instant robo-stop. This snappy young brainiac was driving all the way to the Dead's home base of San Rafael, next door to Brother Tom's. And right away, he began talking about computers, which I knew nothing about, and was picturing the banks of giant machines in the underground bunkers of James Bond movies. He explained, no, he was talking about personal computers that you'd have in your house. Why would you want one of those? I asked. I don't want to become a computer. And he laughed and he goes, okay, what do you do? I told him I produced shows and I wrote. Okay, for example, you could keep track of all the specs of all the venues you work, and you could instantly search and find the best room for whatever show you wanted to do. And he stopped. Wait, you're not still writing on a typewriter, are you? Yeah. Ooh. What if you have to change a word or add a sentence or something after you've finished? What do? Retype the whole thing? And he looks at me like I'm a moron. With word processing, you just change whatever you want and then print out a fresh copy and you don't have to type it once. I'm sort of starting to hate this guy now, because that does sound pretty cool and sort of, I don't know, impossible to comprehend. But computers run robots, and I won't become a robot. And he laughs and starts making R2-D2 noises and moving his arms around. You are riding with one now. Robots are friendly. You just tell us what to do and we obey. The guy's freaking me out. I'm supposed to be in the land of organic music, anti-materialism, and back to the land living. And here's this Hugo Suave in a fancy sports car talking about computers and robots. He dropped me off in downtown San Rafael, right on Francis Drake Boulevard, heading to Brother Tom's house, with my head spinning more than that good reefer in Nevada. By the time I got back to NYU that fall, the Commodore 64 had been released, and I started noticing these things they called computers in a few students' dorm rooms, and saw these class papers being handed in that weren't typed by the hand of man. And these computer people didn't seem to be robots at all. In fact, a couple of them were kind of cute. A month later, the Grateful Dead would play the US Festival, entirely paid for by one of these San Francisco computer guys, Steve Wozniak. And I'd end up buying my first IBM clone a year after that. But for the rest of time, I'd always wonder if that was Woz or Jobs or Gates or one of those neighborhood whiz kids who first opened my eyes. In a California minute, I was picked up for the final and once again exactly 17th time on this journey from Boulder to Marin by a former Navy warrant officer who bailed on that and started bailing homegrown weed instead. Looking out at these lush, dense, mountainous hills and valleys of Northern California, it was sure easy to see how it would grow up here and never be found. And with every twist of that weird and winding road, we climbed higher into the mountains and grew smaller under the trees, until he knew exactly where I was going, pulling into the Woodacre General Store along the edge of the highway. And I was a 10-cent payphone call from the next base camp on this long, strange journey.